Hello, everyone. Let's listen to some light music while we are waiting for our speakers and our audience to join. We still have about 2 minutes until we officially started. Change it differently. I also see our speaker from my network is already here. Let me double check the connections. Hello.
Hello, hello. GMGM.
Awesome. Can hear you clearly. Very good. So let's get started. I think we also have a lot of audience joining us right now. And GM, where you are at, I know recently we have a lot of offline events, right, from over the world. I know we have the Indonesian hack house just wrapped up, and a lot of winners receive your rewards. Congratulations. And we also know that we just ended another event in Hong Kong, right? It's another huge event. And next, we're going to fly to Denver. Oh my goodness. One more event, okay, over there, East Denver. Right? So, yeah, I would like to sincerely invite of you to not just come to our online event, but also meet with our Manta ecosystem friends offline. And Christian, are you going to go to East Denver this year?
Yes, we absolutely will be there. Flying
Amazing.
out today, but yeah, team will be there for sure.
Amazing. Then, yeah, well, both our teams can meet over there. And once again, we wanted to welcome everyone to our very first episode over here, Manta Mindshare. Actually, we are going to have this as an ongoing event, and we are going to do it every week. So be sure to give our Manta main account and my network a follow, right? Because today this is our very first episode. I'm very exciting, and for people who are new to Menta, I want to let you know what exactly is Menta. Menta network actually a big ecosystem. It's a multi-module ecosystem for ZK applications and beyond. And there are two main network. One is called Menta Pacific, and the other is called Menta Atlantic. And we also know that my network is pioneering cutting edge privacy solutions, right, within our Menta ecosystem. And we're here to explore how their technology is shaping the future of Web3. So we're going to talk about everything from banking transparency and security to the growing intersection of AI and crypto, especially wow, AI technology plus blockchain is going to be amazing, right? So, everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in our chat and we will get to them later in the session. Let's get started. Today, our session is also being streamed on Binance Live, and also seeing we have another several hundred audience over there already. Thank you so much. And first, we'd like to invite our speaker, Christian. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Christian. Hi, everybody, and thanks for having me today, Moonlight. I'm co-founder and CEO of My Network. My Network is an FHE infrastructure layer for Web3, um, and we've been developing and productizing FHE for the last couple of years, starting in the bear market, because fully homomorphic encryption is this really key technology that's probably going to shift the entire paradigm of how we interact with the web, and we're really excited about that. And so we're happy to have been partnered with several L1s and L2s, but Manta being featured as one of them as another kind of fellow warrior in the fight for better privacy and security standards in Web3.
Thank you so much, Christian, for the intro. And we're so glad to have you over here. And since you talk about that my network is deeply collaborating with Menta, right? So what is my network building exactly within the Menta ecosystem? And why did the team choose Menta? Thank you.
Sure, sure, sure. Essentially, my network is a FHE computation for a variety of different data. So we offer the protection for data that can be transferred across bridges. That's called an FHE bridge. We have protection for data that's shared between AI agents in the execution of tasks. We have Agent Connect Hub, and we have Mindchain, which is a coordination blockchain that helps to facilitate all the different transactions and data sharing that happens in a single or multi-agent AI ecosystem, which is voluminous. That's a very important initiative of ours because agents probably will be the next most useful iteration of AI for humans around the world. It's the step up from LLM, but in order for them to work, we will need an exponentially higher amount of data sharing at all times for them, for those agents to work properly and accurately for us. And so, it's really important that we have better data and security standards around agents. And then also, a big one is just, of course, voting. So this is a very easy way to think about this. This is what we're doing with Manta, but the the key point of demarcation from Web 2 to Web 3 is in a Web 2, you have a single decision maker. So you have a company like Meta that has all the servers and they decide how to encrypt your data and what to do with it. There's no permissions that you set. They set all the permission standards and everything like that for how your data is used and what it's going to be used for and how it's stored and transferred and everything like that. In crypto, we have consensus. There's no single decision maker, right? So everything works in blockchains, which are public ledgers, and you've got validators and nodes, and everybody has to come to consensus over what transactions just occurred over the last 5 minutes, or who has paid who, or who owes what to who owns this data, right? So on and so forth. So in Web3, because consensus is such a key foundational action, why wouldn't we want that to be happening in a shared private state? So not to undermine the transparency, everything goes on a blockchain anyway, but to add to the transparency, this privacy feature so that you can't see every single thing that every single wallet has ever done. So imagine if Web 2 became Web 3 tomorrow, your grocery bill, your phone subscription, all of your SaaS, all of your products, your Adobe or TikTok or any application that you have, any subscription that you pay for, that would all be connected to a wallet. And it'd be really annoying that everybody could see you basically transfer money from your one bank account to your other bank account to pay rent. If everybody could see that, if everyone could see that you had a subscription to some sort of dating service, right? We don't want that kind of, we want better privacy than that, right? So um, basically what my network has been doing has been offering FHE encryption for consensus, and so that we can start to have better security standards on Web3. And this is also how we partner with Manta as well to help them build out their ZK stack.
Oh my goodness, very good points. Thank you so much, Christian, for pointing that out, right? A lot of times, while we are so used to only convenience on the blockchain, we kind of, yeah, overlooking to protect our own privacy, right? Just like you said, all the transactions are on the blockchain and everyone could see it. Well, that reminds me, yesterday Kaito, right, they gave away a lot of airdrops, and because the website is connected influencers account and their wallets, so we got to know which influencer owns certain wallets addresses and all of their previous transactions, etc. Oh wow, this is definitely an issue. Thank you for pointing that out. And let's talk more about how to make privacy not too, well, a taboo word in Web3, because we know decentralizations, right? And we think like Web3 kind of like more transparency, right? So really important. So how do you take on this issue? Thank you.
Yeah, so as Manta knows, and as we know, and any project that's tried to offer better security and privacy standards in Web3, is that in Web 2, it's kind of considered this four-letter word, and it's for unfair reasons. Partially, it's because I think there's been a hostile attitude toward crypto. But anybody with any basic tech understanding of the internet, I mean, you don't even have to be techie to understand that there's a far lower privacy standard in Web 3 than there is in Web 2. And this is true not only for retail, but even for institutions. So if JP Morgan Chase wants to send a large volume of money to Citibank, the rest of us don't get to see that, right? Those are private transactions. It's handled by an interbank messaging entity called Swift, or there's others, but that's a big one. But like that's not public information, and it probably shouldn't be. That's fine. But in Web3, if they wanted to do that, it would be public, and that's a huge problem for them. As much as we would imagine it might be a problem for us. So like as much as we've been singing, or at least we've been hearing some thought leaders say for many years, the masses are coming, TradFi is coming, institutions are coming. It was all kind of BS. Like we have not even been close to having the right security protocols in place to actually onboard TradFi. And I think we learned about this over the last couple of years through some of the key partnerships that my network has been lucky enough to have with some of the industry leaders, the infra leaders in Web3, as they've been trying to approach regulators and say, look, what do you need for us to be able to work with these banks and bring them into public chains? And all these regulators were always like, look, it's just way too public, it's way too transparent. There has to be better security. And so one such example is kind of like we mentioned before, like bridging. So if you want to move stable coins from a big bank private stable coins into public chains like Ethereum or Avalanche, or Manta, you don't want that transaction to be visible to the oracles, to the bridge node providers before the transaction is executed. So there's always this message that has to go out first. And if that message can be seen by any group of actors, they could be front run. They could front run it. They could take advantage of price discrepancy. They could use MEV, and that's really bad for the big banks. And so this was a great application of FHE because FHE can encrypt that, make it verifiable on chain so nobody can see it, even the oracles who are going to who are going to execute the transaction. So that's just one of many examples where it's applicable. But I think we have to keep kind of fighting little wins, like little solutions where we can bring ZK and FHE to solve a problem that everyone needs solved and start kind of eroding away the fact that a lot of Web 2 still looks at privacy and Web 3 as being this four-letter word. And it's unfortunate, but it shouldn't be taboo because everyone knows we just don't have the same security standards in Web 3 and did in Web 2. And it's going to be harder in Web 3 because we have to provide them in a decentralized way. You might say it's easier to offer security standards when it's just Alphabet and they get to just they already have all the capital resources and the computing resources, and so they can say, well, we're going to use very advanced encryption to store your data. Once it's on our servers, at least then we'll know that it's safe, even though that still gets breached. That maybe is easier than what we have to do in Web 3, which is provide every single person with security, which means it has to be built into the smart contracts, chains, security.
Nice. Okay, I think I have some lagging over here, but let's talk about, yeah, just like you say, right? Security and transparency combining together using our blockchain technology. Can we have the best of both worlds in Web 3? How are we going to achieve that with my network and Manta working together? Thank you.
And the balance between privacy and transparency, you said, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so the transparency thing, Web 3's got figured out, right? um, Public blockchains are a superior blockchain technology is a superior technology because since the 1300s we've been using double entry bookkeeping. If everyone is familiar with this, which is like you keep your book, I keep my book, and we compare them, and that was invented by the Medici's in the 1300s, and that's what we've been using for the last 600-700 years. And excuse me, so the problem there is that either side is always incentivized to cheat if they can, because why not? If there's only two records, and I can say that, well, my record says that you owe me more than your record says that you paid me, then why not try to game the system that way? And so corruption has always infiltrated our systems. And so this public ledger is a huge it's technological advancement. I mean, I don't want to skip over how massive blockchains are, that we've solved this transparency problem and this consensus problem, right? So now the issue is like, okay, well, we also know that if everybody can see anything that everybody does all the time, we could potentially be living in a surveillance state that would even make Orwell roll over in his grave, right? It could be really crazy if that power was put in the wrong hands, or if certain entities were able. I mean, even if they didn't have control over the blockchain, just being able to be able to look at wallets connected in Ethereum and just see what people were doing. So we do have to kind of tone back, I think, a little bit of some of the. Oop, sorry,
Yeah, take your time.
sorry about that. My headphone died.
Okay, no worries. Take your
Can you
time.
still hear me?
Yes,
Sorry about
yeah, we
that.
still can hear you. Oh my goodness, while we are talking about transparency, privacy, etc., I saw a huge news. So an large exchange actually report on authorized transfer from Ethereum cold wallet, and then lots of stake ST Ethereum were being sold. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Wow. Lots of things happening in the Web3 space right now.
That just happened now, yeah.
Yes, just happened a few minutes ago. Oh my goodness.
Mm,
Okay, let's circle back over here. Let's talk about smart contracts. Since we were talking about hacking, right? And
yeah.
the smart
Mhm.
contracts certainly really important. And like could protect not just the users, but also platforms and exchanges. So what makes encrypted smart contracts so powerful?
Yeah, so that's a real key, right? Key to providing the maybe the right amount of protection, privacy on blockchains is through encrypted smart contracts. And so we're starting to see encrypted smart contracts, right, with ZK. And so this is really key, so that sometimes you can't always see the logic or the execution of smart contracts or when they're going to make an execution. I think this is powerful, and I think this is going to be a necessary ingredient to making Web3 just the web, as we call it, the web. It'll be highly usable by everybody at that point. But this is another place where, yes, of course, like of course, we need to have not complete transparency with every single smart contract operating all the time, especially in the world of AI, where AI can start to read smart contracts if we're talking about trading and the ability to front run and see macro trends. And so, again, where we don't have too much privacy at all in Web3. We need to kind of like tone back and start putting a little bit more of it in place. And so this is a key area, I think, for sure. And so the power of this is really largely untapped. We're still very early in this in encrypted smart contracts, and it's an area that my network and I know Mance are mutually interested in.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yes. Now we certainly know that smart contract super important to protect our just privacy. Also, yeah, kind of like balance, right? Transparent. Also security, right? This is a huge issue. Now I see a lot more media and influencers are talking about that hacking issue right now. And let's move on to talk about just like previously
Mm.
say AI and crypto, right? How do we well see the growth, right, especially in data sharing sector? How do we expect that? Thank you. How do we protect our data, right? Just like
Yeah,
privacy.
yeah.
Privacy. Thank you.
So yeah, so for those who haven't kept up on the trends in AI, because they have moved really quickly. I think everyone was aware of single AI agent ecosystems because swarms and virtuals were getting a lot of attention and hype back when we thought we were in a bull run several months ago. And then toward the tail end, when prices started going south, you did see this rise in multi AI agent. I don't know if everybody caught the trend, but it's still developing, and I think this is one of the more promising sectors in crypto. I mean, writ large, and that is. And the reason for that is because single AI agent ecosystems have the issue of being smart enough, fast enough, and hallucinating less. I mean, single agents in terms of being an assistant for you, they can trade for you or carry out any number of tasks. There just is so much work, so much data and processing and consensus that needs to happen for that agent to truly be smart enough to be valuable to you. But if you think of launching a swarm of agents, who can sort of grind out a core competency, and they can check answers amongst themselves. And you could start to add some really cool functionality in there for them to increase the values of their outputs and how and the logic with which they come to decisions. Now you're talking about a machine that can scale really quickly and be useful to you much faster. And so then the question is like, well, does everybody launch their own swarm, or do you have certain swarms you launch that with the goal of that swarm having a core competency area like trading, for example, and then everybody can use them, and the value that is created by that swarm can be governed and owned by a DAO or anyone that owns the token if that swarm launches a token. Or so we're still thinking. I mean, we're still seeing a lot of different ways in which swarms are governed and owned and everything else. But the data sharing that will happen in a swarm of agents is exponential. So not just your prompt, but then all of the prompts that they will send to LLMs. They'll send many prompts out to LLMs to get the best answer. They will, true to all agents, they will start to have some access to like API tooling and some account login information so they can actually execute tasks for you. Say that you want to execute an email campaign or a marketing campaign, they would need access to an email or something else. So we have to kind of look at that area carefully. You don't want that information being stored somewhere that anybody else could access it. So that's really sensitive data, but this is key data that a swarm is going to need if you want them to be useful for you. Um, and then of course there's the consensus that swarms come to when they're reasoning through. Okay, we got 17 different prompts back around how to execute the next task in our mission, and we're going to decide which one is the best one. Well, that's also really important sort of IP type data. And so that's also something that has value and that you want to put walls around to protect. So these are just a few cases, a few examples, but of all the amount of data that's going to be generated and stored and mined from agents is really compelling and also should be really somewhat concerning if we don't have good protections around it, because we do want the value of that data to ultimately kind of trickle back down to the DAO that runs the swarm or the platform, or in some cases, if necessary, the developer, the individual. But we do have to put some boundaries around it and make sure that at least it's not just completely transparent and open and mineable to anybody, because that would be terrible if bad actors were able to get their hands on it. So this is an area that's really promising, both because for number one, because it could actually be like the next killer app from crypto. The way I look at multi agents is like Bitcoin was the first killer app in a way. If you think about it, it separated state from money. Stable coins were really the second one. They replaced the money market in dollars. The third one really could be AI agents. And I think crypto agents have a lot of advantages over centralized agents. We just have the compute issue to get across because compute seems to happen better in centralized environments at the moment. But if we can get past that, this really could be the killer use case and another killer use case coming out of crypto. So we have to find ways to protect the data and assign better governance and ownership over it, and then we're off to the races.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. And yesterday I actually saw another, yeah, project that it's a Web2 project, and they are going to mass produce AI robots that could do a lot of things that we human could also do, right? So kind
Mm.
of like we're going to be replaced pretty soon. Oh my goodness. Probably by some people predict probably by 2027. A lot of the, yeah, current jobs will might be, yeah, slowly disappear. And also, yeah, and AI plus crypto, right? So in the future, well, I would see that at least year, starting this year, it will no longer be like human versus human PvP, but our AI agents, yeah, versus our AI
Mhm,
agents are competing with each other in trading, right? And
mhm,
finding the, yeah, the new tokens and the trade the first million seconds. Oh my goodness, it's going to be
mhm.
amazing. Yeah, and of course, let's talk about our very last discussion topic over here. We would like to know about my network's vision for an HTTPZ future. And can you also teach us what is exactly is HTTPZ? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, HTTPZ is actually a term that we borrowed from our friends at Zama. We can't take credit for it. Rand Hindi came up with this concept, and we think it's brilliant. And it refers to HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which was the first protocol of the internet, right, of Web 1. And then we had to move to HTTPS, which I think is how the vast majority of websites are hosted today, which is just a more secure framework for hosting. But HTTPZ, the Z strand stands for zero trust. And zero trust is a term in software engineering, which means that all data needs to be treated as untrustable, and therefore it must be verified. And so in a zero trust environment, all data is treated as untrustworthy. Even if it is, you just have to verify it anyway. And so zero trust is this really powerful term. It means that we are completely end-to-end encrypted. Um, and that's the vision that we have for the web. And it's the vision that we believe is necessary. And so if you look at what are the tools that we need to go from HTTPS, which we have right now, which even Web3 honestly is operating on, into HTTPZ, which is a web where almost all data is encrypted. There are certain cases where it's decrypted, and that's fine. People consent to it because you might need it for whatever reason. But for the most part, the standard is in storage, in transmission, and during processing, all data is encrypted. That's a massive shift from where we are now. But it's also, if you really think about it, the only one that makes sense for a web in which billions of humans around the world are using AI agents to help them live better lives. That's an incredible amount of data sharing. And if all that data sharing is going back up to three or four centralized AI companies, we'll have a massive problem. There'll be a huge problem, not just between capital and labor markets, but between governments and tech. At that point, you'll have so much power in the hands of a few organizations. I just don't think that's the world that we want to have to negotiate or navigate. So we definitely want a more decentralized, a better distribution of the economic rewards that will come from sufficiently advancing this technology. Um, so our vision is a web where you have mostly end-to-end encryption. Data is being secured all the time. It's not stored in its raw format on Meta's servers or on Alphabet servers or Amazon servers. It's always encrypted. Some data will go there. Obviously, those. I mean, 90% of all internet traffic has been going through the same three companies for the last 20 years. So they've got the data there. They've got. There's nothing you're going to do about that. But at least for all the data that will be created going forward, if we could have it be at least encrypted in its raw form, encrypted in its dormant states, and in during transmission, will reduce hacks and breaches, will reduce the attack vectors for bad actors, and we can even start to talk about individual data sovereignty, which is the ability for an increasing amount of say over the data that we generate or that our agents generate. By the way, if you have some proprietary stake over your agent, it would be great if you could actually capitalize on the economic productivity from that agent as well. And so we need to. How do you do that? How do you define? With the tooling we have today, how do you measure the economic productivity of your agent? um, how do you realize that economic gain? How do you prove ownership over it? How do you put walls up between what is yours and what that agent got from somebody else? How do you allow the agents to pay themselves? um, this is the vision that we see, and this is where we need clearer lines that define whose data is whose and how can you transact with it, and it has to all happen very quickly, and everything should be encrypted. And so that's the vision for HTTPZ is end-to-end encryption, a fully encrypted web.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christian, for sharing all the detail with us and learn something new every day around HTTPZ. Thank you so much. And before we wrap up the session, do you have any additional information that you'd like to share with us? Thank you.
No, I mean, if you are a Manta holder, obviously, I hope everybody knows that if you are staking, restaking with Manta, connect the wallet, your Manta wallet over with my network, and you can earn VFHE. So Manta's been an early partner with us for quite some time. And also in the coming weeks, we also have campaigns leading up to a large event that we'll have forthcoming very, very soon. So check out our Twitter for announcements coming, over the next month or two.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing the information with us. And well, once again, we also wanted to remind everyone be very cautious when we are navigating in the Web3 space, right? And well, still, no matter what happens, Menta and my network will be here to build together and providing transparent and secure space for everyone. Let's grow together, keep build on. Check your exchange accounts. Oh my goodness. Let's go. Thank you.
GMGM, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Moonlight.
Bye. Let me play some live music again to wrap up our session.